Glory, glory, hallelujah, which is not only what we should look to the skies and chant to the football gods in gratitude for a full weekend. I almost said season. Full weekend of NFL football action in the preseason. A weekend in which we saw a whole lot of rookie quarterbacks, including Sam Ehlinger of the Indianapolis Colts. But also glory, glory, hallelujah, one of the many lyrics of one Elvis Aaron Presley. If you watch the live video feed, I am all Elvised out. I got my Elvis Death Day cap on. Had this custom made at a mall. But before you could just get things like done on the internet, I think this was even pre-internet. I did this in the 80s. I wanted to commemorate Elvis Death Day. By the way, Chris Duel show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. So I'm wearing, I've had this, I think, since the 80s. I think it was made at River Center Mall in San Antonio. My Elvis Death Day hat. It says August 16th, which is Elvis Death Day. If he really died, because some people think he's never died, he faked his death. Got my Elvis t-shirt that my friend Steve Duraco got me at Graceland years ago. Shannon, how you doing today?
I didn't know it was Elvis Death Day.
It's
I read the headline on the rundown and took in all your garb. You had I think of peanut butter and banana sandwiches when I think of Elvis.
And I do believe they're fried peanut butter and nanner
I don't
sandwiches.
Like bananas, so not my thing. But then I also think of Chewies.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Because they are huge, but they always celebrate the birthday. So now I'm like, should they double it up every year? And I don't know how in between the birthday and the death day.
Because I'm a freak. January 8th, 1935 was Elvis's birthday.
Where they could maybe do a death day celebration.
Yeah.
Well, celebration of life, if you will.
Well, and I watched last night on the live stream. They live streamed. They have this Elvis weekend, and they call it Elvis Week, surrounding his death at Graceland. And it's a candlelight vigil. And I must say, it's been 44 years since his death, and there were still throngs of people out there. And I must say, and I know I'm a fan, so I'm biased. I mean, it was very moving. You know, they're playing this Elvis music. Priscilla Presley, who was married to him, spoke to the people, and it's, and a lot of them crying 44 years after his death. Now I have to ask you, Shannon, now I was about to begin my senior year in high school when Elvis died. I remember exactly where I was. I was driving on the access road of Loop 410 in San Antonio between Ingram Road and Bandera Road, and I heard the announcement on the radio. It's one of those moments, if you were alive, that you remember where you were when you heard the news. I'm guessing for you a possible comp might be Michael Jackson. Do you remember where you were when the news broke that Michael Jackson was dead? Because he was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I had just gotten up from a nap, and so I turned on the TV and was kind of surfing channels and past MTV, and I guess it'd been like 10, 15 minutes since the news broke. And so they were having all of, the celebrity. I don't know that was 2009, right? So not everyone had the Twitters yet.
Yeah.
So it was all, they were putting up all the statements that, publicists were sending in of celebrities and their thoughts and things like that. So yeah, I just remember kind of sitting there for forever because he was only 50 years old.
Yeah, and he was so huge. And I was live on the radio. It was in the afternoon when the story broke. And what I'll never forget was it was the first time ever TMZ, which most of us thought was just, and still is, a gossip site that just, tracks celebrities and stalks them. TMZ for like an hour and a half had it. They said he's dead. They said we have confirmed that Michael Jackson is dead, and yet CNN, ABC, NBC, Fox, nobody else would confirm it yet. But TMZ had somebody go, "Yep, dude's dead," and it for like 90 more minutes. It's like we are keeping an eye. We hear that Michael Jackson is in critical condition. So that day, TMZ kind of, won the breaking news award and kind of established themselves as maybe we're not as to be dismissed as you people think so.
Yeah, I don't know if they're really to be dismissed. I mean, I think they broke the Kobe news as well, but the issue
Boom.
people really
Yes.
have with them is that they're so much wanting to be first that when those stories broke, family members weren't aware yet. Family members didn't know if it was true or not. And then for that to now be how they were made aware, is hard. And, back with Kobe, it was, Kobe's dead. Oh, wait, everyone on the flight is dead. Oh, wait, no one, that it was.
I remember this with Kobe too, because we were just about to start Spurs pregame, and whoever was reporting it first said former Laker Rick Fox was on that helicopter, and he is dead. Yeah, no, and if you go back and look at the Rick Fox, then like 30 minutes later tweeted, "Hey, I'm okay. I wasn't on a helicopter today." So yeah, sometimes trying to be first, you're not accurate.
Well, and you're famous if people are putting out fake stories about you being dead. I mean, I've had a story about me being fired that wasn't true, but that's as close as I've gotten to a she's dead story so far on the gossip sites. Because there are radio gossip sites. I know listeners probably don't look at them, but there are plenty of trades in radio that spread plenty of fake news.
Yeah, I've had multiple stories over the years about me being fired, and it turned out they were true. It's like I read them. Oh, damn!
Is that how you found out?
It's true. No, it's usually, and I'm a veteran of this. It's usually on a Friday after your show's over.
Yes.
It's usually on a Friday after your show's over, and the boss man will say, "Hey, Chris, can you come by my office? Can I have a word with you?" Go, okay, and then you walk in, and then he says, or she. He or she says, "Close the door," and then they close the door. And then we've decided to move in another direction, and then boom, that's it. Thank you.
If you are my superior and you ever ask to talk to me alone, I will always preface with, "Am I in trouble?" I just want to get it out of the way. Don't
see. You're smart.
Most of the time, I don't think I've ever had anyone say yes, but I just like to get it out of the way because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a rule follower, whatever, but you just never know. Maybe there's a weird story about me that I don't know about, and they're like, "Why would you say something like this?"
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I had a recent one where I was going out to my car, and it was the end of the show, and I'm going out to my car, and the boss man walks out to me and goes, "Hey, something I want to talk to you about. Can you come on in?" And I think he saw the look in my eyes. He goes, "Oh, everything's good." He goes, "It's good." I mean, I didn't say, "Am I okay?" I just think it's like, all right, end of my shift. He didn't catch me walking out the door, so he came to get me in the parking lot. So yeah, radio's fun. When I first got my first radio gig, somebody said there's two types of people in radio: those who have been fired and those who will be. I thought, I'll never get fired. What, 5 times now? I don't even know. I've lost count. It used to be every election year. I noticed it was like every presidential, like every 4 years. It was like 2000, 2004, 2000. So whenever there's a presidential election, it's like, so this past year, 2020, I'm thinking, all right, here we go. Grim Reaper is on his way.
No, you got me instead.
Yeah, exactly. It's better than firing.
Consolation prize.
You got the salty one hanging out, and actually, that's what that one was.
Oh, really?
What the whole parking lot thing? It's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you." It's that's what that was. It's like, no, and that's when they. It's funny you said that because that's what.
That's what mine was too. Meanwhile, that day I'm getting texts from coworkers who are like, "We're so sorry," and I'm like, "About what?" Someone sent me cookies.
Yeah.
It's like. Called him, was like, "Thanks for these. I still work there, but I appreciate the cookies. They're delicious."
Well, and it was so, and we're going to get into sports in a moment. I swear to God, big NFL weekend and just a gazillion things to talk about, and we will. But I mean, in every business, including radio, I mean, for those of us, Dave Ayler, you, me, anyone who has survived, going through 2020, where every business consolidated in a big way across the country and probably around the world. So yeah, a lot of people, sadly, and our hearts go out to you, and hopefully you are on the road to a better gig and a better situation. But so many people probably had that experience of, "Hey, can you come to my office? I want to have a word with you." And then you walk in, close the door, and then Really?
We're in the last quarter of the year, and we can't afford to pay you anymore. I go, have you seen my salary?
Exactly.
You can't afford that.
I work in radio. Dig under the seat cushions. You could probably find my salary for the next 5
We
months.
got festivals to put on, guys.
Exactly.
We gotta pay for those artists. We gotta pay for Miley Cyrus to take the stage.
Exactly. Well, first of all, before we talk a little NFL football, Mr. Dave Ayler, how was your weekend, sir?
Great. Went and saw the Descendants and at the Paper Tiger on Saturday night with about 500 of my closest friends.
Excellent. And you posted a tremendous poster for that concert. Describe it for radio people.
Okay, well, what the Descendants do is, at least both times I saw them, they do something they sell at the merch booth that's just for that city. When I saw them the first time, I saw them at Stubbs in Austin, and they were selling shirts, which has the little caricature of their lead singer, except you had a red headband and braids to look like Willie Nelson.
Excellent.
So this year I was walking up to their little merch booth there, and I go, there's nothing there for San Antonio. And I was looking around, and I go, okay, well, there's a poster there. And as I got closer, I saw the picture of it, and it's a takeoff of the old George Gervin Nike ad of, where George was sitting on the throne of ice.
Yes.
It's the Descendants lead singer caricature sitting on the throne of ice instead.
With the two basketballs, one basketball under each palm, an ice basketball.
So, and there was only 50 of them because it was a limited edition thing because they only sold it in San Antonio. And so I bought one.
Beautiful. Good man.
Yeah, hanging up in the office at home. And I think it's one of the best concert posters ever.
Especially, for those of us who grew up in San Antonio, and it was a national poster.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in St. Louis.
Yeah, you saw it in St. Louis. Good point.
And
Good point.
I thought that was a great poster even then. It was late 70s?
Late 70s. Yeah, it's to this day. George, are you familiar with the Iceman poster at all, Shannon? We'll have to Google it if you're not. But it's a Nike commercial, and George Gervin was the Iceman. So he is sitting on a throne of ice with like this icy silver warm-up suit on and these white Nike basketball shoes before they had a gazillion different varieties, including Jordans. And it's the Iceman sitting on a throne of ice, and under each hand is a silver icy basketball. And it became one of the hottest sports posters, not only in San Antonio, as Dave mentioned, he saw it in St. Louis when he was a kid, but it became kind of iconic. So the Descendants, the band that Dave saw over the weekend at the White Rabbit in San Antonio, very wise,
the Paper Tiger,
and hip. Where did I say?
White Rabbit.
I said White Rabbit.
Yeah, it used to be the White Rabbit.
Okay. See, so I was kind of sort of almost
same
accurate.
building, same place.
Kind of like TMZ. I kind of had it right. But I was.
Those are fun names.
Woo. Yeah.
Well, that's a great segue to. We got tickets this morning too, Chris.
Ooh, we do it. Tell us about the ticket, Shannon.
Well, I think you know the artist a little bit more than I do, but I believe it's coming in December. Thorogood.
Thorogood. Just stick an O in the middle. Thorogood. George Thorogood. Yes. George Thorogood, my goodness, he's been around forever. He's kind of a big deal. And when is this concert again, Shannon?
Let me pull that up for you. I do believe it's at the Tobin Center, which is
December 14th.
Okay.
Okay, there was a 4th.
December 14th.
So
I should know
that'll be a good one. December 4th.
4th, okay.
Yes.
Tobin is a cool venue, by the way, to see a concert.
Indoor, outdoor.
Indoor. Well, they've actually got an outdoor thing. I saw an event there outdoors once during the day, but I think the vast majority, I'm pretty sure this concert would be indoors.
Okay.
But then again, era of COVID, you never know how they might do it.
I'm trying to get this to San Antonio. It's supposed to be in San Antonio.
This was the week.
This week. And thanks, Stage 5. Thank you so much.
It's getting weird. It's getting weird once again with the Delta variant, and we'll get into that. Well, all right, and we'll talk more about it, but let's start, and I know we're up against a break, but we'll get into it. We got the high five play of the day coming up in the next segment, but I think for you, and maybe even for me, Shannon, one of the big highlights of the weekend, Sam Ehlinger looking very much like an NFL quarterback should, in his debut for the Indianapolis Colts yesterday.
Yeah, and he did the things that we know him. He ran one in for a touchdown. He did end up throwing an interception. I think was his first drive, but that's it's preseason. It's a rookie. He's not even a starting rookie. That's all fine and dandy because the overall display he put on for that Colts team, and there was a former Westlake guy I think that he connected on his first pass.
A former teammate of his at Westlake. Even
it's a great storyline. I love that he got that time. I think we'll see plenty more of him. And I read headlines this morning that the Colts feel good about him, and if Carson Wentz is in fact not ready to go week 1, they feel good about who they have behind him, and Sam Ehlinger is one of those guys.
Very cool. We'll talk more about Sam Ehlinger. So many of the other quarterbacks making their debut: Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence. We'll get into all of that. We'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys. A big news involving Dak Prescott and his MRI results. We'll walk you through all of that as well. Coming up next, the high five play of the day. As we mentioned, George Thorogood tickets. And Shannon, you've got a very cool interview with a former NFL and Houston Texans and San Francisco. Won a ring with the 49ers. Well, he went to a Super Bowl. He was 7 minutes away from winning a ring with the San Francisco 49ers. You're going to interview this gentleman coming up in the 8 o'clock hour.
Yeah, NFC champion, talked about what's going on in his life now. Of course, talked about the Texans, and I had to ask him about realignment.
Woo, that's right.
It's coming, whether we like it or not.
Yep.
It's happening.
Very cool. We got a lot coming at you. Oh, and listen to the Elvis music on Elvis Death Day. Elvis died on this day, allegedly, in 1977. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. She's the salty one. Shannon Salty Sweeney. I'm Chris, with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Foam Foot 420. Wes Perkins. Jason Paniagua. Wes Perkins, greatest king. Martin Luther King Jr. All right. Touche, Wes Perkins. That's a good one. See, I was going to put other for a fourth choice, and I just figured automatically, very religious people would, and this is kind of a pop culture question. Very religious people said, the only king, the King of Kings, is Jesus Christ. I knew I was, and God love you, and I'm a big fan of the J-Man, but we didn't want to go religious, so I just kept it at 3: King of rock and roll, King of pop, or King of basketball. Yeah, Luisa, I love Elvis. I'm a big fan. He was so versatile. Rock and roll, country, gospel, love songs. He could do it all. He was special. All right. I do believe. See, am I going to make a coffee run? I think I am. Do I have a coffee cup in here? I do. Beth Settle. Good morning, Beth. You are up early on Elvis Death Day. My Elvis Death Day hat. Let me give you a close-up. I had that made at a mall. They embroidered. They could make any cap you want. So you choose the color. I don't know why I chose green. But Elvis Death Day, August 16th. Exactly. Dave Emilio. Thank you. Thank you very much. He would not just say thank you. And he would not just say thank you once. He would say, thank you. Thank you very much. Patrick Hart. Good morning. Welcome, Patrick. By the man of Cadillac. The Lion King. All right. We might start listing kings. And my big, Shannon asked me the other day, have I ever been to the Texas State Fair? It's embarrassing. I have not. my other big embarrassment, I've never been to Graceland. I want to go. Wes Perkins has been, but I want to go during Elvis Death Week so I can. I watched it last night on live stream, so I can be there for the candlelight vigil. Want to be holding my candle with my Elvis Death Day baseball cap and my Elvis T-shirt, purchased at Graceland by my friend Steve Duraco and personally brought back. So it's got the smell of Graceland on it. Or is that just me? All right, I'll be right back. Eating up the coffee. All right. Anthony Del Toro has been to the Georgia State Fair. It was like walking into a giant outdoor Walmart. Oh, Foam Foot, I see what you did with your emoji. That ain't cool. It's funny, but it's not cool. Okay. Let me see here. Thank you, sir. Don't want to listen to that. Woo! Here we go. There we go. Got to go to the chorus. Who do you love? George Thorogood. Shannon, have you heard that tune? That's a fairly famous Thorogood tune. Nope. All right. Well, we're going to have to get you to the Tobin Center December 4th.
It's my dad's
3 rows
birthday,
back.
so I'm busy.
Make you a George Thorogood fan.
Busy. There was also another concert I wanted to go to that day, but again, I didn't get tickets because it's Daddy's birthday.
Same day you had another concert?
It was a comedian was going to be in town that night, and I wanted to go, but I didn't get tickets because Dad's birthday. So I decided against it.
Can you take Dad to?
He's not really into that.
Okay.
He's not really into that.
Now, before the high five play of the day, though, Elvis Death Day. Obviously, Elvis died years before you were born. What was growing up? What has been your impression of Elvis? Like him, hate him, lame, no opinion. I mean, obviously, you must have seen there is such a cult of Elvis fans. How do you feel about him?
I'm indifferent. I mean, I think most of the stuff I see about him is him being used as, the pop culture icon, whether references or I don't know if you ever saw the Zombieland movies, but the second one, like the lead in that movie has an obsession with Elvis, and they end up going to what has now been a zombified Graceland. So that's about all I know.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch, I feel like had some good Elvis references in there.
Yeah. I saw some people say that was somebody last night. I was watching the live feed of the candlelight vigil from Graceland, and someone cited Lilo and Stitch, said that's the first time I heard of Elvis, but I checked him out and became a fan. He was, granted, the the adoration of Elvis before and after his death has been, very unusual. But I mean, you go back and just look at what he was able to do. He could do it all. He could sing rock and roll. He could sing country. He could go, fast up tempo. He could sing beautiful love songs. Like last night, they even played during the candlelight vigil. They played "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You," which is one of the sweetest love songs ever. Mm-hmm. Gospel. He was, and just so many. He morphed into so many things. To me, the best Elvis ever. It was a TV special. It's called the Elvis '68 Comeback Special, where he's lean and he's mean, and it's before he gained all that weight, and he's looking good, and he's wearing like all leather. It's like a leather jacket and leather pants, and it's in the round, so it's a stage, and he's totally surrounded by people, and he's like at the height of his powers in 1968. He looks as good as he's ever looked, and he's just rocking. And then after that, it kind of goes a little south. The whole Vegas thing and the white jumpsuit, which I still like. The white jumpsuit and the cape and doing karate moves. I like every Elvis a lot, but
dare I say it, I don't think he would have been the superstar he was had he done it this day and age. Because a lot of the shock value that came with him, it was him shaking his hips and like
true.
That's nothing today. And then I think too, in the way everyone's, cultural appropriation, this and this is wrong now, but it wasn't then. Like him changing the genres and switching it up so much, people probably would have had a bigger issue with that.
And for people who don't know, you're absolutely right. Early television, the mandate was you cannot shoot him below his waist because the way he is gyrating his hips is obscene, and it might turn kids on, or God knows, or put indecent thoughts into housewives' heads. I don't know. So they only could shoot Elvis from the stomach up or the chest up. In a lot of his songs. So that's you make a good point.
Only they knew what was to come.
Exactly.
Only they had an idea, just an inkling.
And one more thing about Elvis, and I swear to God, High Five Play of the Day is coming at you, and it's pretty good. In fact, we have an honorable mention for High Five Play of the Day that we'll let you know about. But early Elvis, black artists, R&B artists were not getting the airplay they should have because there was a lot of prejudice going on. So Elvis started doing black music. He started doing R&B music, but he was a white guy from Tupelo, Mississippi, from Memphis, doing it. And so there was Little Richard, and there were so many great African-American artists that were not getting their due. So Elvis was doing their music. And to his credit, Elvis, later said, hey man, this music is coming from, black artists in America. So part of what made Elvis, and it was a breakout thing, was here was a white guy doing black music. And that was part of the allure. And most of white America at the time didn't realize that. That's where the music came from. Anyway, all right, moving on. From Elvis to a high five. The high five play of the day. A little music involved there as well. Thank you, Dave Ayler. High five play of the day, appropriately brought to you by High Five. 2 great locations in the Austin area. So much to do at a High Five. Great big screen TVs everywhere. You can watch sports, great food, great drinks. Food specials, drink specials, kid-friendly, adult-friendly, and great activities and competitions and games you can play, laser tag, axe throwing, all of that fun stuff. Before we actually give out the high five, do we want to mention the runner-up, the listeners? And we love it. When you've got a suggestion for high five play of the day, let us know, and it might just be chosen. So you want to do that one first, Shannon?
Yeah, Doctor, I'm not sure how.
Yeah, don't. In fact, the first half of it is kind of Spanish slang or swear words. So.
All right, so we won't go there. But on Twitter,
a listener,
we've got a listener submission for the high five play of the day. Tyler Gilbert threw a no-hitter. It was his first start for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Threw a no-hitter, and there's a great video of his dad reacting. So proud of his son. We love feel-good stories like that. And today's high five play of the day is a feel-good story. I mean, it's preseason in the NFL. We're not worried about the wins and losses. It's all about guys making sure they're in the right position, coaches making sure, certain players fit the scheme, that the schemes are working well, and that they'll be able to hit on all cylinders once this season does come. And it's for guys to try and stand out and make those final roster spots that have not been taken up by vets and guys with big contracts. And I think we've got one. And he was a story over the weekend. Lions running back Craig Reynolds. Thursday morning, he was a free agent, Chris. He came in for a tryout. He didn't just come in for a tryout. He tried traveling there on Wednesday, but due to weather, he was delayed. He didn't even get onto a flight until 6 a.m. Thursday morning to finish his trek to Detroit. He then had a tryout. He suited up for the game against the Bills the next day, and sir, he ends up scoring a touchdown on a 24-yard run, ends up with 6 carries for 49 yards with the highest average for running backs that night with 8.2 yards a carry. A pretty incredible moment. He was interviewed after the game. He talked about how crazy it was. I mean, we may look back at this and say that was his moment.
Yeah.
Like who knows what the future holds? Who knows if he will in fact get signed by the Lions? But you come and perform that, and then to see where your career might go after this one time. I mean, in a 24-hour span, 48-hour span, this guy went from sitting at home being a free agent to scoring touchdowns in the NFL. That's pretty incredible. My
favorite part of the story is when he went out into the huddle. So they put him into the game. He goes into the huddle, and players in the huddle are saying, what's your name? Who are you? Because he just got to the team, and there were like coaches on the sideline introducing themselves. Hi, I'm the offensive coordinator. My name is so and so. But yeah, players. He goes in. He's sent into the game to run plays in a brand new offense, and his fellow teammates don't know his name because they've never seen him before.
So awesome. And of course, it's only 3 preseason games this year, so he's got 2 more to really lock in his spot to potentially become a Detroit Lion for this 21-22 season. I just thought it was fantastic. And, there aren't a ton of stories like that come out of preseason. Most of the time we're talking about guys that just shouldn't be on a team, aka the current Cowboys kicker after that awful debut in Canton. But which I do want to get in with you on that because you were there.
Yes.
And you saw those kicks. But such a great story for Craig Reynolds, and I wish him the best and continued success as he tries to make that roster.
And that is kind of, a lot of people poo-poo NFL preseason games because the veterans don't play much at all.
It ain't about you.
It's true. Exactly. It's about stories like this one. It's about Sam Ehlinger making his debut in the NFL and impressing. So, if you're a true sports fan and a true football fan, and if you're paying attention, there are plenty of storylines in pretty much any one of these NFL preseason games. And you talking there, Shannon, about the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell is such a freak show at head coach, and he did have a cup of coffee with the Dallas Cowboys. He played for the Cowboys a little bit in his NFL career as a tight end. But I mean, I would like to, it's long overdue. I would like to see the Detroit Lions under Dan Campbell have some success. I'd love to see this guy, make the team at running back that you're talking about. So it's got to be tough to be a Detroit Lions fan, but and then you trade away, anybody you get, you get Matthew Stafford, and now he's a Ram. You've got Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and he says, I'll just retire. This team's so bad. It's Barry Sanders even left early. There are people who believe if Barry Sanders played a couple more years that Emmitt Smith would have never gotten the rushing title from Walter Payton, that would have been Barry Sanders' record. So yeah, but man, they are long-suffering fans. I know Cowboys fans are as well for the last 25 years, but my God, it's got to be rough to be a Detroit Lions fan.
I mean, you got Dan Campbell. We've got some pretty great storylines. And listen, this may be the last year you have to deal with Aaron Rodgers twice a year.
True.
So that's something to look forward to.
True.
I know you've been saying there's always next year for a very long time now. But truthfully, there's always next year because signs point to Aaron Rodgers not coming back to the Packers.
Yeah, so many weird things coming out of the Packers. And, of course, Jordan Love, with his debut this week, but he was also banged up, as I understand, in his debut. Yeah, out early, and I think the Packers said, I saw something this morning, he may miss the second week of preseason for them, which that plays right into the hands of Aaron Rodgers. I think the hope of the Packers was, Jordan Love plays great, and apparently before he got hurt, he looked quite decent at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. But now if he's banged up, I mean, your best hope for developing Jordan Love was getting him quality snaps during these preseason games, and you've only got 3 this season with the 17-game NFL regular season. So Jordan Love might not get a lot of opportunities if he's going to be out with injury.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. We don't always see it, but a lot of times when teams have their spot locked up, they've won their division, it's the last game of the season, there's no movement to be made as far as where they'll end up. They do put in a backup. They don't play that starter the entire time. So maybe, just maybe, if the Packers can be like they were last year and win a ton of games up front, maybe we'll get to see some Jordan Love just to get him those snaps. Because you're right. I think, again, we mentioned it, people don't really love the preseason. They're excited that there's only 3 games instead of 4. But for guys like that who need those live game action snaps, it's important, and they're going to miss not getting those reps.
Jordan Love goes 12 out of 17 for 122 yards and 1 touchdown. It was the only touchdown. We should mention who their opponent was at Lambeau Field, because we had the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, with us. He's going to join us weekly now to talk Houston Texans. But Houston, I know it's preseason, Shannon, and you can't get too excited, but even though it was preseason, I don't think any of us saw the Texans going into Lambeau Field, even in the preseason, and walking out of there with a 26-7 preseason win. It's got to be relieving for the Texans to get a little bit of good news after what things have been like for them. Yeah,
and to do it with putting points on the board as well, because like the Cowboys, they have struggled to do so in the past. So putting that up, even if it is preseason, you're still playing an opponent. It's still live action. It's still at Lambeau. I think it was it's got to be a confidence booster too for that organization, who all of the outside noise is just doubt, complete doubt. And the fact that after that Jaguars, I know they have Trevor Lawrence, but they still have that awful offensive line. Like, they are still considered the bottom here, the Texans. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was great momentum for those guys going into the season to have that to hang their hat on.
You mentioned confidence builder, and I'm a big Tom Landry disciple. I love the late, great Tom Landry. I remember in preseason, and it was a different era, and the teams, they'd play a lot of starters throughout what was a 6-game preseason. Hard to believe back in the 70s. But Landry said he tried and wanted to win as many preseason games as possible, because he says it gives the team a winning attitude. He says you develop a winning attitude in preseason. So if that's true, and Landry said it, so it is true, a 26-7 win for the Houston Texans over the Green Bay Packers, even though it's preseason, a lot of 2s and 3s playing in those games. That's good for them. That's good news for them. All right, we got lots coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. You've got the Salty Shakedown, always spectacular. Shannon's Salty Shakedown, this day in sports history, sports birthdays. We'll talk Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys lose again, but they get some good news over the weekend, and we will get into that as we roll forward. She's the salty one, Dave Ayler, making the show go. I'm Chris on Elvis Death Day. It's the Chris Duel Show. Fonzie J. Rodriguez, welcome in. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, Dodgers scored a lot of runs, didn't they? What was that Dodgers score? But Fonzie, as you know, because you follow it closely, the San Francisco Giants are still on fire as well. What was the Dodgers score? I'm looking it up. Astros 14-4 at New York over the Mets.
Why is it your girl?
All right. Ralph Balderas, good morning. Jason Paniagua. Welcome in, everybody, on the live stream. Whether you're in on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch.
Get ready.
Did Elvis ever do a studio version of the Impossible Dream? Or is it always live? Because I can't find a studio version.
It's not. It's If I Can Dream. Yeah, it's not the Impossible. It's If I Can Dream. Usually findable on YouTube pretty easily. Let's see. Cool, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking at 312 on the first one that popped up. Cool. Yeah, just back time it at 312 until we're out, and just kind of bring it in softly underneath us, and we'll hear it, and I'll kind of cite it and say goodbye, and I'll probably let the last minute or 90 seconds play out. All right. See, where did that go? I had. First day. It's National Roller Coaster Day from your show prep. Might have to play Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players. It's the Ohio Players. The title is Love Roller Coaster. And there was an urban legend about that song that a woman. There's a woman who screams apparently on the roller coaster. The urban legend was she was stabbed outside the back of the recording studio in the alley, and the Ohio Players, as a tribute to her, kind of left that in. It's like, a soundproof studio. You're going to hear a woman getting stabbed to death and screaming in the alley. But when I was in high school, it's like, oh, man, listen, here it is. Here's the part. I can hear it, man. It's unbelievable. Any time of your choosing, and then I'll just reference it whenever you do it. You don't even have to do it, but it's I saw that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Wes Perkins. I can't. The only thing is, I don't believe they would do a Ben Simmons deal, and I think the Sixers want too much. But the only thing is, with Chip England here, if there was any franchise that could fix Ben Simmons, maybe it's San Antonio. Maybe. Here we go. 7:00 hour. Wow, Foamfoot says everyone pay attention to school zones today. Kids are back to school. Yikes. On Elvis Death Day? Come on.
Now, Chris Duel.
We are into the second half of August now, this being August 16th. Significant because it is Elvis Death Day. Elvis Presley died on this day in 1977. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Big day. So much going on in the world of sports. So much that happened over the weekend. We are talking about it. We are reacting to it. You can talk to us about it if you would like. We'd love to hear from you. Phone lines are always open for you. 800-707-9760. 800-707-9760. Another way you can participate in the show is through the live video feed. You're not only interacting with Shannon, Dave Ayler, and me live on the video feed, but lots of very cool and insightful peeps there as well, not only from across the state of Texas, but often we're joined from people around the world. We lots of ways you can access that on Facebook via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760's Facebook pages. Live video there, live video via YouTube, and you can get there via Twitch. We are all over the place. Something else that struck me, Shannon, that you may not know because you were born many years after the death of Elvis Presley. For years, certainly for like the first 10 years after his death, so Elvis dies in 1977, there were Elvis sightings, like UFO sightings, Elvis sightings being reported across America. And the theory was that Elvis was just sick of the celebrity, that he faked his death, and that he was often seen, and this is just rude. He was often seen like at a Burger King. It's like, come on, just because he was like fat, you think he's going to be hanging out at Burger King's, people?
You want fries with that Whopper, baby?
Thank you very much. I'm looking for a peanut butter and nanner sandwich. Thank you very much. So, Shannon, did you know about the Elvis, the big conspiracy theory that Elvis really was not dead? That it was all a hoax that he perpetrated on his own?
Yeah, I've heard of it. And how could, it's easy to go along with when you have so many people running around the world pretending to be Elvis.
Yeah. And then, and I'm so stupid, I bought it. A woman, like in 1988, so he dies in 77, 1988, she writes a book called The Elvis Tapes. And you could buy it at like a supermarket, and it was a paperback book with a cassette. So it was wrapped in plastic, called The Elvis Tapes. She was having like phone conversations with Elvis. So you would buy it. She told the story that she ran into him one night and he confided in her, and then they started talking on the phone. So then she started recording the conversations. And there's a woman talking, and it's like scratchy. He's on the other line. I got tired of the rat race. Thank you very much. So it's like, but I'm like, oh my God, that's him. That's his voice. That's definitely Elvis. I was a little gullible back in 1988.
Oh, Chris.
I'm just saying. But and the other part, if you're a fan, you're hoping it's true. It's like, oh God, wouldn't it be great? And wouldn't it be great if there was like a big comeback special? So,
if I'm a fan and he's still alive, I'm disappointed that I missed out on how many years of music that he
quite a few, 44 and counting. I mean, he died at the age of 42. He's now been gone longer than he walked the earth. He died at 42. It's been 44 years now. So, which leads us to our poll question this morning, Shannon. As you know, Elvis was known as the king of rock and roll. But where does he rank among people in pop culture who are called the king?
Yeah, he ranks pretty highly today, coming in at 56% of the vote, followed by Michael Jackson, the king of pop, with 44%. And then we have LeBron James on there. But the thing with LeBron is he proclaimed himself the king. So I think that says everything you need to know.
How many votes for LeBron so far? None. Wow.
With those three as our options. Someone also commented Arnold Palmer.
Was he known as the king? I don't remember them.
Maybe that's just a personal preference.
Yeah. Well, and I think Wes Perkins, our good friend who calls us occasionally, said, and this is why, and I was, when we did the poll this morning, often we'll give you three choices and the fourth choice will be you tell us who your favorite king is. I knew if I did that, Shannon, because I've gotten into this conversation before, and it's like, it's a conversation stopper. Someone would have said, and this wasn't what Wes said, but obviously, Jesus is known as the King of Kings. So some very religious people go, "Hey, man, it's Jesus." It's like, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, he would trump Elvis or Michael Jackson or LeBron James. So that's why I limited it to. And Jason Paniagua says Bernard King, the former basketball player with the New Jersey Nets. So again, I'm not trying to be blasphemous. I'm not trying to put Elvis or Michael Jackson or LeBron James in competition with the big man.
Right.
But so Wes Perkins, and this is another one. It's like, yeah, okay, you got me. Touche. Wes Perkins says the greatest king was Dr. Martin Luther King
We're not
Jr.
for people with kings in their name.
Yes.
Right. We're not playing
nickname.
The basketball color green today. It's not. It's the nickname.
Because I will admit.
Whatever they do.
Yes. I will admit Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was better than Elvis or Michael Jackson or LeBron James. So you would win that one, Wes Perkins. But no, we're looking for somebody nicknamed the king. Ooh. Well.
No, that last movie was trash.
Isn't that his name, though?
I don't.
Oh, wow. I think we may have to go to the judges on the King Kong.
We're talking about real people and people, specifically people. Nope.
Okay.
So gullible.
I know. Yeah. Well,
King Kong is real and Elvis is alive.
Yeah, by a woman. The King Kong tapes. King Kong was real, and he was seen with Bigfoot. Here and the Chupacabra. And here's the proof.
And I'd buy that book because I'm an idiot. All right.
Dak Prescott over the weekend, Shannon. And I had heard on Friday, I heard the MRI on Dak Prescott's shoulder was going to be Monday. So I'm like, well, we're not going to hear it. And I figured it was going to be Monday. The news would be released. Figured he'd have it at 8 a.m. today. And then, of course, once we go off the air at 9, the results of the MRI would be, because that's what people do, because people have it out for us in the sports media. But that's okay. We can handle it. We're cool with it. But no, over the weekend, apparently, Dak Prescott had the MRI, and the results looked pretty good from what I understand.
Yeah, all signs point to that shoulder healing and going, everything according to plan. Of course, they put out that tweet prior to, saying he is getting an MRI, but don't worry, which of course made everyone worry, including myself. But reports come back and it looks good. Wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow night, Hard Knocks, we maybe even see the appointment itself of him going in to get the MRI. I don't know that they announced what it means as far as what he'll start doing in camp, whether he'll throw more or whether he's, still taking it light, or what that workload's going to look like. But things are looking better as we get closer and closer to week 1 against the Bucs.
And apparently before the Cardinals game, although he did not play, Dak was seen throwing the football. So, he's that was seen as a good sign. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything trending at the moment regarding Dak Prescott. I still, how much do you play him in preseason? You got to play him some, I do believe. But again, Shannon, that opening Thursday night, and I've said ever since I saw the schedule come down, if you're going to try to punk the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, maybe the best way to catch them would be game number 1 when they're getting their rings and they're all giddy and they're celebrating, and maybe you got a shot at them. But for Dak Prescott to go coming off the injury, his first full game, his first regular season game, to go against that team is scary. And somebody brought this up last week. It might have been you, Shannon. I'm so focused on at the Buccaneers on opening night, and that'll be the 9th of September. The next game for the Cowboys their second week against at the LA Chargers. I mean, they could start off 0-2. I mean, they're prohibitive underdogs against the Buccaneers. So although I'm a dreamer, I thought Elvis was alive in '88. I'm thinking the Cowboys have a shot on opening night against the Bucs. But if you then go to LA, they're going to be underdogs no matter what at the Chargers. And Justin Herbert, now in his second year, he's going to be even better, we can assume. Can you imagine the Cowboys start this season 0-2? That'll be Cowboy fans are going to be gripping, and I'll be one of them.
I can imagine it, because we are on Hard Knocks and we all know that there's a curse that comes with it, and it'd be a very Cowboys thing to do. But I have faith in that they are doing what's best for Dak. You mentioned like, oh, they've got to put him in the preseason at some point. Now I'm like, where do you put him in? A lot of times they'll do the last game because it's the closest to the next game, and so that way they have that feel going into game 1 of the season. But also I'm like, there's less preseason games for the other side of the ball on the defense, and guys are going their hardest to try and make an impact to say, I deserve a roster spot. And I don't know that I want Dak on the other end of that.
It's a great
with
point.
Some guy who's trying to make a roster spot and trying to get sacks and trying to get takedowns and trying to do whatever it is he can to disrupt. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they just hold him out until that first game and hope for the best.
Excellent point. Now I've got to mention, though, that second game against the LA Chargers will be at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles over the weekend. At SoFi Stadium, we had fan-on-fan violence and a video that went viral. And I wound up posting that. Shannon, you saw it. You and I talked about it over the weekend as well. Why can't fans behave? Why? And what it was a dude in a Rams jersey swinging at other fans in a Rams jersey And then it was all started. The fight really got precipitated. A woman throws a beer at a dude as he's turned around, and he didn't know the woman threw the beer, so he turns around and he starts swinging at these four guys, and that's not a good move. If you're one drunk dude and you start swinging at four guys, four drunk guys versus one drunk guy, I'm pulling for the four drunk guys. They get him in a headlock. They bend him over one of the chairs. They start beating the crap out of him. It was not pretty. The only thing I liked about the video was that these were not Cowboys or Houston Texans fans, especially Cowboys fans. It was not a good look.
I'm worried about this season. And that was in LA. In LA, I don't know that they had any fans in the stands at any of their games last year.
And none of them were wearing masks. LA is supposed to be really hardcore about masks. None of those fans were wearing masks.
Which again is why they, LA so hardcore about it. They weren't in the stands last season. And I know most teams will be back at 100% capacity for the first time, but fans are excited more and more energized than ever to be there. And for what you get a drunk guy and you do the one little thing that pisses him off, we could be seeing a lot more of this. I mean, it's a preseason game. It wasn't even a game that mattered. There's nothing to really argue over.
Yeah.
And this is like the trending video of the weekend. And he was bloody.
He got his butt beat.
I'm nervous. And that's LA. You don't like go to LA like the prissy Chargers and the prissy Rams to go see street fights. Like what?
You expect Raider fans to behave like this.
Uh-oh.
All right.
We won a preseason.
We're getting a phone call. In fact, we mentioned his name because he's joining us on the live feed, 800-707-9760. He is an excellent caller. He is a band leader in San Antonio, but he also does a lot of work involving Spurs. He's a Spurs analyst for a lot of really cool podcasts. We've had him on Spurs React. We've had him here in this studio back pre-COVID when we could have guests in the studio. Wes Perkins, what is on your mind on this Monday? What's up, Wes?
Well, hey, Shannon said something really right. She says a lot of things really right all the time, but this one just really stuck with me. She talked about Dak Prescott and the fact that when do you get him in a preseason game? And my thought on that, and to kind of piggyback what Shannon had said, is that's how Dak Prescott got his start to begin with, was because Tony Romo went in for a series or two in that final game and ended up not coming back to be the starter because he got injured. So I'm not saying the Cowboys have anybody behind Dak. They should call Romo, by the way. But I just feel like they got to be real cautious, right? I mean, because what's going to happen if Dak trots out there, gets hurt? You're talking about going 0-2. How about going like 0-10 to start the year?
It's a scary proposition, Wes, and it's going to be fascinating to see how the Cowboys do approach this. So, thanks for the phone call, Wes. What do you think, Shannon? Usually you say it's the last preseason game. When there were four preseason games, typically week 3 out of the 4 is where the starters would play like the first half, maybe into the second quarter, and then they don't play in the fourth one. Now you got 3. I know the Cowboys had 4 because of the Hall of Fame game, but NFL wise, you've only got 2 left. You've got the Texans this coming weekend, then you got the Jaguars the next weekend. So when is Dak going to see the field?
Well, first, Wes, thank you for feeding my ego on this Monday morning. I love nothing more in this world than being called right. Whether even when I'm wrong, if someone calls me right, I dig it. You make a good point with that's how Dak got in with Tony, but we don't have a Dak on the bench right now, right? I mean, hate to say it, screwed if Dak can't make it for however long in the season. We need him to be fresh. And we just saw week 1, and there were a lot of teams that took a hard stance on our starter is not playing at all during this game. There were some teams that said ahead of time, hey, we're going to give him a couple reps. So if they're going to do it, I feel like it would be this week. But then again, we don't know exactly. We got that MRI results, and all signs are pointing to better things to come. But we don't know yet if he's able to go and throw in a way that is, going to help or hinder, his ability. And I don't want to, I would rather him sit the rest of the way and play week 1 at full health. Maybe he gets knocked around a little bit in the first quarter just because it's his first time out there in a while, but I do not risk Dak when you do not have a Dak Prescott waiting behind you on the bench like Tony Romo had.
And, it's funny you say that, Shannon. We don't have a Dak Prescott waiting on the bench. You and I talked about before the NFL draft, wouldn't it be nice if the Cowboys drafted Sam Ehlinger? And we got to see Sam Ehlinger play in the NFL yesterday. He goes 10 out of 15 for 155 yards through the air. Yes, he did throw a pick early, but then he ran the ball 8 times for 30 yards. And so he runs it in as well on I think the 2-point conversion. How much better would we feel if Sam Ehlinger were the backup quarterback instead of Garrett Gilbert, Cooper Rush, or Ben DiNucci? I think, again, the Cowboys had an opportunity here and they failed to really. I know people are saying Garrett Gilbert looks okay, but I think Sam Ehlinger would have been a better choice at this point.
Garrett's definitely better at the deep ball than Sam. Sam still needs to work on that accuracy when he goes long. But there is always, especially with rookies and guys that you just don't have film on, the unknown, right? I mean, Sam scored that touchdown when he rushed, and that's not something you see a lot with quarterbacks to run a ball 8 times in a game, and it's a preseason game. And he's not even playing a full game. You maybe get a quarterback who runs 8 times throughout an entire game. So that would be interesting, and maybe I'd vouch for him a little more because I know what he's capable of, and I feel like we've seen the ceiling of the DiNucci's and the Gilberts, and there's no film on Sam, so you could use that element of surprise, but I don't think he's making his way to the Cowboys.
No,
I think the Colts like what they see, and they're going to hang on to him here.
Yeah, more now than ever. In fact, though, but it was interesting, speaking of the Cowboys, Gil Brandt, Hall of Famer, longtime player personnel guy for the Cowboys. He was on the NFL Network radio yesterday, and of all these rookie quarterbacks, they were talking about Zach Wilson and Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence, and he volunteered. He said, I'm really impressed with Sam Ehlinger, what I saw in the Colts game. And he said, because you need in the modern day offenses, you need to be able to run. And Sam Ehlinger proved that he can run the football as a quarterback, because you need, especially as a rookie or when the pocket breaks down, you need to run the football. That was part of the allure of Dak Prescott, especially early on. And as a rookie, he could tuck that ball and run when necessary. So hopefully, in addition to everything else, you mentioned quarterbacks like Garrett Gilbert can throw the deep ball better than Sam Ehlinger at this point. But, maybe that running ability is going to be something that, sets Sam Ehlinger a bit apart. I think he may be a little better at it than a lot of these quarterbacks that are coming up as rookies.
Yeah, I mean, running in the NFL, particularly for a quarterback, has always been, you look at the Cam Newtons and you look at the Lamar Jacksons, that's part of their game, and those teams have embraced it. But then you look at Vince Young's career and what happened there. I mean, that was a huge part of his game, and he gets to Tennessee, and Jeff Fisher's like, lock back down. We don't want our quarterback running out in the open and getting hurt. And then you look at Sam, who has a history of concussions, and most, if not all, had come when he has taken the ball and run it with his feet. But that it also, as bad as that might be, on the other hand, you want a guy who is willing to do whatever it takes to get you that first down, to get you that touchdown, whatever it may be. How you make that, and that was something Tom Herman talked about with Sam a lot last year, is him being smarter about when to go and when not to go, just let the play die versus, risking yourself or, doing something crazy like running around for way too long and then you get a sack, Iowa State. But, it is a great asset to his game, and one that I think certainly as we become more of a spread offense throughout the NFL and everything's going deep, and it does open up that space for a guy who already has the ball in his hands. Why not just take it if it's there?
Lots going on in the world of sports, and we are all over it. And coming right up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Plus, this day in sports history, a major sports publication started its long history today, many, many years ago. And sports birthdays, it's the birthday of a quarterback named Colt, but maybe not the Colt that comes to mind when you hear quarterback named Colt. All that and more. George Thorogood tickets coming up. Shannon goes in depth with a defensive tackle who went to the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers, also played with the Texans and others. Whole lot going on. We're with you until 9 o'clock this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. She's the salty one. Dave Ayler making the show go. It's the Chris Duel Show. Thank you, Wes Perkins. Great call. Boom. Oh, it's got me as Shannon. That wasn't Shannon who said that. I typed this on the wrong platform. I could get Shannon in trouble. Hey, that call sucked. I would never do that. Oh, it came out as AM 1300 The Zone. Okay, cool. Now I see it, but here's me. Boom. All right. I feel the need for more ice for my iced tea. That is so loud. That is loud, loud, loud. See, John Williams telling me in a private message the Elvis comeback special was on NBC. That was in 1968. Yeah, that was Elvis at the height of his powers. It's very, very cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I'm getting some ice. Ice, ice, baby. Thank you. Thank you very much. Whip me up a fried peanut butter and dinner sandwich.
really good.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You ever seen George in live?
I have not.
Me neither.
I have to see if there's some leftover tickets or something, man.
I just remember it was back in the 80s when he did 50 dates in 50 states. It's like every night he did a different show. In different state.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
No nights off, 50 dates straight.
That's amazing. That's a cool approach. Some George Thorogood submitted for your approval by Soundscape stylist Dave Ayler, Super Dave Ayler. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, and you could be in attendance to see George Thorogood when he comes to the Tobin Center on December 4th. We're going to give away those tickets in less than an hour. We're going to do that in the 8 o'clock hour. In fact, we'll do it in the first half hour of the 8 o'clock hour, right around maybe 8:15-ish, somewhere in there. So be listening. Shannon, are we giving away those tickets all week? Is that going to be an all-week thing?
All week.
Woo! That's cool. Now, this is being reported by one of our listeners. I think this is true, but I will give it the caveat that I haven't fact-checked it, Shannon. So that's great responsible radio for me to report something I haven't fact-checked. But John Williams, who joins us from Dallas, says that Dallas Cowboys practice at the Star facility in Frisco, Texas, is open to the public today. Can you independently confirm that, Shannon?
I cannot independently confirm that, but
I'm going to go to DallasCowboys.com.
It does look like I'm seeing something about today's being public and free, and that's interesting. I do have something very similar to that in the shakedown today.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and again, not that I'm doubting you, John, but occasionally I have said something that someone told us in the middle of the show, and without an absolute fact check. It's sure. I'm looking at the Cowboys website, DallasCowboys.com, and it is certainly not one of their front stories. So, Camp Central 2021. All right, we'll check it out. Anyway, double check your local listing if you're headed to Frisco, Texas, to see the Dallas Cowboys. I think it was Time for them. I did hear that they packed up and left Oxnard, but not certain if the training camp practices are open to the public yet, although we're hearing that they are. So there is that. All right, coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Before that, sports birthdays. But let's kick it off with this day in sports history. On this day in 1954, August 16th, 1954, they started up a little new sports magazine. They gave it the name Sports Illustrated. It's kind of been successful over the years. Sports Illustrated was born on this day in 1954. It's kind of cool going back over the years, looking at some of the covers of Sports Illustrated when there was a big event in the world of sports. And yes, I do believe in the Sports Illustrated jinx. Don't get me started. Or this day, another birth on this day in 1965, the American Football League, the rival to the National Football League, decided to expand, and they awarded their first expansion franchise. So that league started in 1960. So in 65 on this day, they award their first expansion franchise to Miami, and they call themselves the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, that kind of worked out too. On this day in 2003, Cristiano Ronaldo makes his debut for Manchester United and the Premier League in a 4-0 home victory over Bolton Wanderers. I'm not familiar with Bolton Wanderers, but there's that. On this day in 2008, Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt, and now father of Lightning Bolt, Usain Bolt set the world record of 9.69 seconds to win the coveted 100-meter gold medal at the Beijing 2008 Summer Olympic Games. That's sports history, but it all pales in comparison, doesn't it, to what big in history happened on this day in 1977 at Graceland. That was the passing of one Elvis Aaron Presley. Although I got a paperback book and a tape in 1988 that told me otherwise. That's sports history and Elvis history. How about some sports birthdays? I got 3 for you. Born on this day in 1930, NFL halfback and wide receiver with the New York Giants. Also played for the University of Southern California. Became an ABC sportscaster. Married a woman named Kathy Lee. Frank Gifford was born on this day in Santa Monica, California. I saw his bust at the Pro Football Hall of Fame just about a week ago. He died in 2015. Born on this day in 1961, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, known as the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye. Born on this day in 1961. And born on this day in 1983, Colton James Brennan, better known as Colt Brennan, played for the University of Hawaii and a few NFL teams, including the Washington football team. Colt Brennan, born on this day in Laguna Beach, California, born in 1983. Sadly, Colt Brennan died earlier this year at the age of 37. He had just come out of a treatment center, a rehab center, and apparently was rushed to the hospital after overdosing reportedly on fentanyl. And Colt Brennan died earlier this year at the age of 37. Very, very sad. I remember hearing his name come up in the news, and I hadn't heard it in so many years, but still very, very young. A sad end to the man who was born today in 83, Colt Brennan, former quarterback. That's sports birthdays. Sorry to bring you down. That's this day in sports and Elvis history. Sorry to bring you down. Here's what'll bring you up. A little more salt in your morning. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, and even farm animals. Your salty shakedown.
Do you ever have a rough day talking, Chris?
A rough day,
I
what?
feel like bit my tongue or something in my sleep last night because it feels large. My mouth is dry. I'm over here like trying to chug as much liquid as I can, just so I can like get words out and have them form sentences. I don't know. So
you actually sound fine to me. So
Okay.
even though you're noticing it, I think you sound fine.
I feel like my tongue is working really hard this morning, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just a Monday thing. All right. We had the NFL Hall of Fame game. We've got the Field of Dreams game. We are locked in. It is no longer the dry spell that can be the summer at times. Of course, those two games were a week apart and both on Fox. So, Chris, the numbers are in.
Uh-oh.
The NFL Hall of Fame game in Canton with backups galore. Most of the starters didn't even travel. It's in Canton. It's in a high school-looking stadium. There's not a tons of fans. It is the kickoff to the NFL season. They brought in 7.3 million viewers.
7.3 million. Okay.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think like 1,000 people is a lot of people. 7.3 million. I hear that's a little bit more. On the other side, a week later, Fox airs the Field of Dreams game. Of course, it was huge on social media. Everyone's still talking about it. It was great. They think they should maybe do something along those lines a little more often. And you'd say they should, considering they did get 5.9 million viewers for that Yankees-White Sox game, which was the highest-rated regular season game in 16 years for the MLB. But it still paled in comparison to a football game that didn't even matter. So, when considering this, we had the debate of whether or not they should either do another Field of Dreams or do something along those lines. Clearly, they should. The numbers are there. The highest rated game in 16 years, and this is a game that actually matters. And with a team like the Yankees, who anybody and everybody, love them or hate them, you'll tune into them. But if that just shows you the difference between the NFL and where they are with their marketing, when they can get 7.3 million people to tune into a game that absolutely 100% does not matter compared to a regular season MLB game. Since we are talking Hall of Fame, though, I'll also let you in on this. After that game, because it was such a historic one with the Field of Dreams, all that came with it, they are taking to Cooperstown a pair of spikes, a jersey, a hat, and a fan-made sign to live on forever. So that game will be remembered should another one never occur up in Cooperstown. So I do like that part of it for those that want to see it. I don't know when it's going to be there, but it'll be a new installment. But Chris, what does this say to you about the separation between the NFL and the MLB and where the MLB should go after seeing how great their numbers were, but how far behind they still are?
And you make the huge point. That was the highest rated regular season MLB game in 16 years, yet
16 years.
More than 1 million fans less than the NFL gets for a preseason game. I mean, and as you say, and we talked about ideas last week, Major League Baseball needs to think outside the box. They did it with this game. You know, they need to have a weekend celebration that includes, I think, an old timers game, a celebration of baseball. It'll never be like the first one, but I think they're onto something here, and maybe look into other outside the box ideas like this. Because the biggest problem for Major League Baseball is, much as I love it, and Field of Dreams is my favorite movie ever, it's baseball's for a younger generation with a shorter attention span. There's not a whole lot of action in 2.5 hours of baseball. So that's they've got that handicap going in. They got to find other ways to make the game entertaining and get more younger eyeballs on the product.
When you have 182 games a season, it's hard to make that many games entertaining and to create a storyline like they did for that Field of Dreams game, whereas the NFL, a few less games a year. And I think the storylines, they continue all the time. It's a little easier to grab onto. So, you know, they're moving in the right direction, clearly, with these numbers, but still pretty far behind the NFL. All right. Moving on to an actress. Are you familiar with Kaylee Cuoco? She was on Big Bang Theory, 8 Simple Rules. She's now on The Flight Attendant, which is an HBO Max series.
That's where I saw The Flight Attendant. I thought it was outstanding, and I thought she was very, very good. Yeah, I liked her a lot.
Lots of awards coming up this season. Well, I don't know if you were aware of this, in her spare time, she's been an equestrian. She's been riding horses for 15 years. She's actually married now to a horse trainer. So she was probably one of the 4 people, along with Bruce Springsteen, watching all of the horse action over in Tokyo just a couple weeks ago. And there was a story about the modern pentathlon coach for Germany was disqualified because there was footage of her hitting a horse from behind, and then there was actually audio of her telling one of her riders to hit it harder, I guess, to make it go. I don't know what that does to the horse, but it's not a good look. Clearly, it's against the rules. She was disqualified. Well, Kaylee Cuoco took to her Instagram over the weekend and really went hard at him. It says it's not great for our sport. You're making us look bad. You made your country look bad. It's a disgrace. How dare you do that to a horse? It's an animal, it's a living thing. And then she said that she would buy that horse outright.
Ooh.
I mean, do they sell it to her?
Yes. Well, but aren't they going to be angry at her for the tweet? I mean, yes, they should. And I love the gesture on her part. But
I mean, she wants to give him she says she'll treat it like the saint he is, because this horse's name is actually Saint Boy. But he's not currently being treated like one. It would seem. I mean, I don't know if you maybe let her go on a little bit more with this rant and feel like, oh, you really want him. Okay, well, here's our price. But that's quite the offer. Name
That
your
is.
price. And I don't know if you are aware, but when she was on Big Bang, they were making Friends money. That Big Bang cast, like
Yeah.
$1 million an episode.
My goodness.
So she's not hurting for any coin. So we'll keep an eye on this to see if she does in fact become the new owner of Saint Boy. I also wonder, and I think this about dogs too, because I love being in another country, and especially Paris. I'm a dachshund person, and everyone seems to have dachshunds over there because they live in smaller homes and they're just a great sized dog and they're always walking around. And I'm like, but that dog probably speaks French. Does this horse speak German? How does she train a horse? Does she have to learn German, or can she teach the horse a new language?
Funny.
That's just a little peek inside the mind of salty questions that don't need to be answered. All right, finally, we talked about the possibility of the Dallas Cowboys having an open training session today. I think that's awesome. Texas football, DKR, they are going to have an open practice this week for fans to come out and enjoy. I don't know that they've ever done this, or at least in recent memory. You know, we have the spring game, but then it's like that long wait, right, until the first game. We are now 19 days away from kickoff against Louisiana at DKR. But this week on Wednesday, 6:45 p.m. for free at DKR, you can get in via Gate 7. The gate will open at 6, and fans will be able to sit on the west side, sections 3 through 8, to take in the team. And I think it's just a great opportunity to go see the brand new, untouched, as of right now, no one's sat in it yet, South End Zone. It looks phenomenal. If you haven't seen pictures of it, go check it out. Obviously, the renderings are there, but what it looks like now, it's so awesome. It's going to be great when it's finally filled with people. And on top of that, not only do you get to take in the team, but you get to experience happy hour pricing. Normally, happy hour pricing takes place outside of DKR before kickoff. Now you can go inside DKR, watch a free practice with the team, new and improved, head coach Sark. Who knows what other fun things they'll have going on there. Plus $5 domestic beers and $6 premium beers with that happy hour pricing. Chris, I think this is a great idea. I don't know if this is just something that they're doing because it's a new coach, it's a new year, and we are out of COVID, not out of COVID. We are wherever we are right now with COVID. They're excited to have fans back in the stands because I think they're hoping more people will be back this season, and they're getting to show off that new South End Zone. I think this is great. I don't know why they don't do this more often.
Yeah, you had me at happy hour pricing, and you're right. They should do it more often because, and you know, I guess maybe if you're a coach and you're worried about somebody videotaping your practice or something, an opponent, maybe there's that concern. But if you think about it, and again, Texas is such a huge brand and has a huge following. You know, if you just do this and sell concessions, you're going to make money. It's going to be a money maker, and then and to me that's a win-win if you allow free admission because there's fans who love the horns and some of them who might not otherwise get an opportunity to get in there and see them. I think it's a way cool thing.
Yeah, you mentioned the beer sales. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I believe Gate 7 is my normal gate, and that is the gate that takes you right past the stadium store. So an opportunity to buy all of the new season merch that you need for just a few weeks away now for that first game of the year. So Texas fans, again, that's 6:45 p.m. this Wednesday at DKR with gates opening at 6. And also free parking. I know that's huge for a lot of people. It's huge for me. San Jacinto Parking Garage, San Jack, just north of the stadium, will have free parking for you. So don't need to worry about that either. there you have it. Today's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown, brings up a lot of issues and was very, very cool. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Shannon, you do a sit down with longtime NFL player, Texan from the great state of Texas, went to the Super Bowl with the 49ers against the Chiefs a couple of years ago. Earl Mitchell, that should be a lot of fun coming up.
Yeah, on Friday, the Texans showed up in all their glory. They were doing a little bit of a Texas tour. They hung out at Academy, and they came here to iHeart, and Toro was here.
Toro!
Walking around. He even came with his own headphones. The cheerleaders were here. One of them was actually a former Texas cheerleader. So off the mic, we were chatting about that. I was, are you a gym? One of them was a dancer growing up. The one that went to Texas was a gymnast growing up. You could definitely tell. I mean, she was like Simone Biles shredded. And then Earl Mitchell sat down to talk about the Houston's season and, all that might be expected. And also asked him about Charles Omenihu, because how could you not? Dude is a Texas legend these days.
So much coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, and in the very next half hour, in fact, in about 20 minutes, we're going to give away George Thorogood tickets. This is going to be a tremendous concert. It's a way out, but you're going to have the tickets. It's December 4th at the Tobin Center. But you'll put it on the calendar. You'll get the tickets in your hand. It'll be a beautiful, beautiful thing. We'll talk more NFL. We'll talk a little baseball. Astros still in that dogfight with the Oakland A's. Astros lost yesterday. We'll talk a little bit Major League Baseball and Astros as well. She's the salty one. Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist, making the show go. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo, woo, woo. Tracy Bogert. Welcome in, Tracy Bogert, the president of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans and South Texas anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers. All right. I feel the need. Dean Stone, welcome in. Yeah, Dean, I'm getting the bad feeling that the pandemic of the unvaccinated is going to continue to explode. And we're going to sadly have to go back to more restrictions. Survival of the fittest. Yeah, they were interviewing some people about the vaccine. They go, well, I'm not going to get the vaccine because I believe my faith will protect me. And the follow-up question was, do you own guns? Of course I own guns. It's America. Well, why do you need to own guns if your faith will protect you? I don't know, man. It's just a question. Yeah, Tracy, I totally agree with you. If people would just get vaccinated and wear a mask, it would mostly go away. You notice about 98% of the people who die are the unvaccinated people. I think it's insane that Abbott and DeSantis go out of their way to kill people, including children. But your last line, a very extreme statement. Warren Wheeler, welcome in, sir. Oh, Taro is in here. Taro says the pandemic of the unvaccinated is, that's what we need to start calling it, because that's what it is, overwhelmingly. Taro joining us from Japan. Welcome in. Yep, coffee break. What can I tell you? Somebody sent me a reverse angle of, yeah, that's a can. A reverse angle of that fight at SoFi Stadium and the woman throwing the can of beer at a guy when he was turned around, and he assumed it was these other four guys in front of him. So, Dave, to recap, Thoroughgood tickets at about 8:15, and then at about 8:18, we'll have Shannon throw to the interview. I'll talk to her about it a little, and then we'll throw to it, which should therefore end at about 8:26-ish.
What's the guy's name that you interviewed?
Earl Mitchell. Earl Mitchell. Foamfoot says George is bad to the bone. That is a classic George Thorogood. Let's see. One bourbon, one scotch, one beer. Oh, that's a classic. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
August 16th, 2021, 44 years after August 16th, 1977, the day the music died, at least for Elvis fans. This is Elvis Death Day. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, along with Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist, making the show go for us. You're welcome to join us throughout the morning at any time. 800-707-9760. Got an interesting tweet, Shannon, and a thoughtful tweet. You know, our poll question on Elvis Death Day, Elvis, the king of rock and roll. So we're saying, all right, guys who were known as the king, who was the best king? So the king of rock and roll is Elvis Presley. Michael Jackson was known as the king of pop. So he's on our poll question. And LeBron James, the self-proclaimed king in basketball. And we've been updating the voting, and you can vote at Ticket 760 or at AM 1300 The Zone on Twitter. And JHZ or J Hertz Sports Medic 2022 on Twitter says, remind me which ones managed to kill themselves with drug overdoses and which one built a school in Ohio and pays the graduates to go to college. That's you know, if you're going to fight on this one for LeBron, that's kind of an interesting take there. What do you think?
My salty take is there's still time.
For what? For LeBron, what? To have a drug overdose?
I mean, he's alive, isn't he? We don't know how he dies.
Yeah.
And some would argue that, you know, Michael Jackson did not overdose himself.
True.
The doctor did it.
It was accidental, just like, and sadly, one of my favorites, Tom Petty and Prince. Tom Petty and Prince, those were both accidental overdoses with prescription drugs. That just is a bad cocktail that went wrong. But we should still have Prince and Tom Petty and Michael Jackson today making music if things went right.
Listen, the LeBron James lovers go, I'd say, even harder than the LeBron James haters. So that's okay. Mr. Sports Medic 22.
I thought it was thought provoking.
It was.
So.
But my immediate reaction was there's still time.
Yeah. All right. It's going to be really interesting, you know, now with Russell Westbrook joining the Lakers, and you know they're much older. Carmelo now a Laker, along with Anthony Davis. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if that team can do it. I mean,
together,
exactly. And I mean, one of the knocks on Russell Westbrook, but you know, maybe here's a chance for him to redeem himself. I mean, he's never been able to succeed and win a big one. You know, even when he had James Harden twice, and once you had James Harden and Kevin Durant, and you guys couldn't win a title, if this doesn't work, first thing that I was going to say was Russell Westbrook certainly has motivation to redeem himself. And certainly when James Harden went to the Brooklyn Nets this past season, he was playing more team basketball. Both of those guys kind of known as ball hogs. But if the Lakers fail, and I think a lot of people expect them to fail, I mean, one of the lasting legacies of Russell Westbrook is going to be, look at all these great players you played with, and you were never able to win a title. That must be a Russell Westbrook problem.
Yeah, it's the whole you pointing one finger and there's so many pointing back at you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where he stands. And it's interesting that you bring them up because there's an article out today that says the new Lakers, LeBron, AD, and Russell are the third best big three the NBA will have next season.
Wow.
Number 1, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Number 2, Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. I guess number 4 would maybe be Golden State.
Yeah, don't
Klay
sleep
Thompson
on.
Back
Don't sleep on Golden State.
Draymond.
Yes.
But putting them at number 3, I mean, that's LeBron, who finds motivation in every slight. That's gotta eat at him a little bit this morning, I would think.
Going to be interesting. To
you don't bring in guys like that to be third best.
No. But, and what is LeBron, like 36 now? I think he's going to turn 37 this coming NBA season. He's reaching a point in his career where he needs to kind of, be less of the man and kind of distribute it a little bit. Even Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich, and again, I think he's a genius. As Tim Duncan got older, for the longest time, even when the Spurs' big three was so good, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, I mean, it was throw it down low to Tim, see if Tim wants to take it to the hoop and score, or see if he wants to kick it back out to Manu or Tony Parker. And with Tim, it became more of a distributing game. Even that win they had over the Miami Heat in 2014, there's this video out there, and they even called it the beautiful game, how the Spurs would pass more and they would make one additional pass. And Greg Popovich called it the extra good to great pass. And even on their championship rings, they wrote good to great on there, which was one of their mantras. If you're a superstar and you're going to play into your late 30s and maybe even to 40, there comes a time where you've got to back it off a little bit and alter your game a little bit. And I think that time has come for LeBron James.
Yeah, I think the time started coming when he took Taco Tuesday seriously. Because I think LeBron James of old was a little bit more like the Tom Brady in the diet category.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just realizes now his body can be in as great shape as he wants it to be, but the bones, you can't change those.
No.
And he's going to have to adjust. And, Russell Westbrook clearly has no issue being the one to drive the ball into the paint and get into the nitty gritty of things. So I see lots of drive and kick in the LA Lakers future.
Yeah. And again, don't forget Russell Westbrook, an LA area guy from, I believe, the Long Beach area, went to UCLA. So it's kind of, he must have grown up a Laker fan in all probability. So it's going to be, that's a factor for him. But you mentioned Tom Brady, here we have Tom Brady playing at 43. But you look at how the wear and tear on a basketball player's body, what the movement that LeBron has to do, and the physicality involved in being in the NBA and playing the level of play that LeBron has played versus Tom Brady. If the offensive line does its job, Brady doesn't run with the ball that often. He's got the drop back, find a guy, throw the ball. If it's not there, throw it away and live to throw another day. It's amazing. You think of football as a much more violent sport than basketball, yet, Tom Brady at quarterback, I think unless he gets hit, unless the offensive line breaks down, I think Tom Brady has less wear and tear on his body than a LeBron James, and less risk of it, actually, than LeBron James.
I would agree with that. Unless you're in the trenches in the NFL, if you're good, you can maintain a pretty long career. But yeah, and LeBron plays both sides of the ball. Well, he's on the court during action on both sides of the ball. He doesn't necessarily play defense all of the time. It's a suggestion, but he still has to get up and down the floor to look the part. So yeah, it's a lot more wear and tear when his minutes. He used to be the guy who got mad when his minutes were being, taken away from him, when he felt like he could still go. And I think now he's, he leads the way in rest. And I don't know, that'll continue to be an interesting conversation too, especially as he gets older, because there are kids that are going to buy tickets to go see LeBron James. How do you manage his minutes? How do you decide whether or not if it's an off night for him or not, especially when he is in a market like LA?
All right. In a moment, we'll hear Shannon's sit down with a longtime NFL defensive tackle, went to the Super Bowl with the Niners a couple of years ago, Texan and supporter of the Houston Texans, who he played for as well, Earl Mitchell. But before that, Shannon, we've got tickets to see George Thorogood coming to the Tobin Center in December 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And we leave it up to you, Shannon. What number of caller shall we give these tickets to?
I'm going to go 5 today.
5 at 800 that's a good number. 800-707-9760. 800-707-9760. 5th caller to get through to Dave Ayler gets the George Thorogood tickets. 800-707-9760. Now, coming up, Shannon, you sat down with Earl Mitchell, who is kind of interesting. He grew up in Houston, Texas, went to North Shore High School in Houston, started with the Houston Texans, drafted in the 3rd round, 81st overall back in 2010, stayed with them for 4 years, then went to the Dolphins, wound up with the 49ers twice. In the middle of that, the Seattle Seahawks, but finally did what not every NFL player has an opportunity to do, and that's go to a Super Bowl. And he did that very late in his career. So he's got to be kind of an interesting guy to talk to. What was he like in person?
He was a quieter guy. I think people always find it shocking too when they meet these athletes and they are these giant guys, and I think you expect them to be like loud and boisterous. And he was very chill. It was also early morning. Really nice to get to meet him and sit down with him. And he talked about the relationships he formed while with the Texans and how that actually led him to be on that 49ers roster that took him to a Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. So it was really great. I appreciate them for making the time for us. Of course, the Zone as well as Ticket. We are the home to the Houston Texans, so you can hear all of their games throughout the season. And it's great that they take the time each year to come drop by and say hi. They were a little disappointed after the interview. They're like, "Oh, we can go take pictures with people at the offices. We can go by desks." And I said, you've met the person here.
There's nobody here.
I let you in. We have the interview, and I also let you out because there's nobody else here. But I said, hopefully next year we'll be at a new office. Hopefully people will be here so we can have a little bit more exciting stuff going on for you. But appreciate them stopping by still, even though it was just for me.
Well, and what's kind of cool, it's kind of like a caravan that the baseball teams like the Houston Astros do a caravan in the offseason. I did see our good friend of the show, Laura Burris, who was with the San Antonio Food Bank. I saw her post some photos on social media that they came down to San Antonio to the food bank over the weekend as well,
yes,
which was Toro and Earl Mitchell and the cheerleaders, and the Texans were represented. Before we go to your conversation with Earl Mitchell, let's check in with Dave Ayler. Dave, who's our lucky winner of George Thorogood tickets?
Big winner was Ray Sanchez.
Ray Sanchez. Way to go, Ray. Did Ray indicate that he was a fan of George Thorogood? Or
isn't everybody a fan of George Thorogood?
I think so, except Shannon. Shannon says, "Meh, I'll be busy that night."
Every song's about drinking.
Exactly. One bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
I drink alone.
It's one of my faves. One bourbon, one scotch, one beer. So, hey, if you didn't win the George Thorogood tickets this morning, we're going to give them away all week. So you got 4 more shots, Tuesday through Friday. So, Shannon, go ahead and set this up and throw to it your conversation.
Yes, we spoke with Mr. Earl Mitchell, as you said, born and raised in Houston, ended up playing for the Houston Texans, which had to be special for him, playing for his hometown, and then jumped around the NFL a little bit, found his way to the 49ers, where he went to a Super Bowl with them. Of course, that ended up being Patrick Mahomes' first Super Bowl appearance and first Super Bowl win, but we talked about it nonetheless. Here's that interview. Back on the Chris Duel Show, 1060 and AM 1300 The Zone.
It's a very special day as I am joined by many of the Houston Texans crew, including Toros and the cheerleaders,
Toro!
as well as legend Earl Mitchell. He joins me this morning, and we're going to talk some.
He said she
football.
locks us
Thank
out
goodness we're
at the
talking
end.
football. I have
And
been
just-
waiting so long.
She does. She
You guys are
yes,
on this
yes,
Texas
yes.
tour. You spent some time in Austin, San Antonio. What have y'all been doing? How have you been traveling? I hear there's this awesome double-decker bus.
Yeah, we're on this double-decker bus. First off, I'm excited to be here. And, we're really excited to do this season kickoff tour. It's been, amazing so far. We've been out here just traveling in Austin, just doing so much, meeting the Texans fans, just connecting with them. So it's been amazing so far.
I heard you guys went to the I Love You sign. Now, was there a line? Because it can get pretty busy.
It was a little bit of a line when we got
Really?
there. Yeah, just slight, but it's a pretty, big attraction. So,
Yeah.
we're not surprised.
I'm a little ashamed to say I have not done it myself as an original Austinite. I can't bear to stand in line, but I'm so glad you guys made the trek and got to take that on. Now, that's a very exciting week. It's the first weekend of preseason, and the Texans are taking on the Packers. You yourself, as a former NFL player, how big of a thing is a preseason game for a rookie going in? It's their first time in an NFL uniform. A lot of them are vying for spots on the team. What's that like?
Especially with a team like ours, this is it's a crucial time. Everybody knows that a spot is open. There's so many opportunities out there for you to make a team, but not only that, just be able to perform in front of all the NFL coaches on television. So it's a really exciting time for them. I know they're really really hyped about this opportunity to play a great team. So their job is to go out there, make the best plays that they can, and hopefully they make the team and make us better.
Yes, lots of changes too coming this season, lots of new players, and then a new head coach in David Culley. What have you seen from him so far that excites you about having him take over the reins for this Texans team?
He brings a lot of joy. He brings a lot of excitement to the team, and I think that he's the type of energy that you need. He's been thus far. He's been really nice for the team, and I think that he has a great opportunity to just being his first time being a head coach. So it's exciting to have a guy that's excited about just being around, and it's his first time. So I'm looking forward to what he can do for us.
Sounds like some confidence coming from Earl, a Texans legend himself. Now, Earl, you're also an Arizona legend because I heard that you are now going into the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I just got recently inducted to the Ring of Honor at the University of Arizona. I'm really proud of that. I went along with another former Texan teammate, Brooks Reed. We both came in on offense. We really had battled. We were battling for a fullback job. We both ended up on defense and both got drafted to the Texans. And it's just a really, really cool time. So I'm really excited to go back for homecoming. And
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a cool opportunity.
Is that, do you get your jersey retired too, the number? Or
No, we got to get our names in the stadium.
Oh, you're there forever. You're
Right.
immortalized. That's fantastic. And then you didn't just play with the Houston Texans. You did have a stint with the 49ers. You actually got to go to a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan, who around here, we love him. He's a former Longhorn. What was that experience like? I mean, I know we see it on TV and it's the Super Bowl, right? It's the biggest thing ever. It's the greatest performance of the year just around the world. But to actually be there and to see it and experience it, what was that like?
It was such a full circle moment, to get drafted by the Houston Texans. And a lot of that stuff that was there while I was here was on that team. And they were the ones that convinced me to come out there just to, just kick it old school, just do it like how we used to. And, we had D'Amico Ryans, who was the captain, who was the linebackers coach. One of my old teammates was, defensive line coach. And, Kyle Shanahan, the entire staff was pretty much from Houston. And it was such a cool, full circle moment, especially to do it in Miami because I played there for a number of years as well. So it was really nice.
It's crazy sports. It seems so large when you're sitting on a TV and watching it and seeing all, but it's so crazy how connected we all are. I mean, you mentioned the Texans getting you over to the 49ers and how many guys that you were connected with there. Tora, do you have anything to add? You've been really quiet this entire time. No, just silent treatment stuff. That's fine. I mean, Earl is okay. You're right. Earl's the man we're here to talk to. Earl Mitchell, Houston Texans legend, as well as Toro and the Houston Texans cheerleaders, joining me in studio this morning on the Chris Duel Show. Now, with preseason, a huge thing that I always look forward to is Hard Knocks. Of course, the Texans have been featured on Hard Knocks, and this year the Dallas Cowboys. I don't believe you were ever on Hard Knocks. As a player, what are your thoughts on Hard Knocks and that camera crew and that attention kind of being around the team during this time?
For me personally, I'm glad that I just missed every opportunity. As soon as I left, before I got to Miami, they were doing Hard Knocks. And as soon as I left the Texans, they did Hard Knocks, and I was, just it's so much exposure to really put your personal lives out there, and it's because it's a rough business and it's hard for me to watch. I enjoy not knowing knowing that I didn't have to be on it. So, but it's cool to see. I think it's important for the fans to see how tough it really is to make an NFL roster.
Yeah, as someone who's never played a down of football other than what my Xbox allows me to do, I love the behind the scenes, I love the insight, but I can certainly see how it's a bit of an invasion, especially when you're used to doing something a certain way every year, and then all of a sudden here come the camera crews and everybody's mic'd up. Now, while I have you, Arizona, part of the Pac-12, we've got this news of realignment with Texas and OU going to the SEC, which means the Pac-12 may be inviting some teams from the Big 12 should the Big 12 not make it out alive. Are there any teams from the Big 12 right now do you think would be a good fit for that Pac-12?
Wow. That's a tough one, because I'm just so used to it. I wouldn't mind seeing, a couple of teams from down south get an opportunity to go to the West Coast. So, but no team really stands out for me. I just I would love for kids that play at Arizona to have the opportunity to play somewhere down south in front of the fans. Because when I was there at Arizona, I wish I could have played in Houston, and the closest I ever got was LSU. So, and that was a rough go.
Yeah, LSU has made quite the name for themselves, especially in these past few years. Joe Burrow now, of course, with the Cincinnati Bengals, hoping to have a bit of a better year after that awful injury last season. Looking forward to watching him play this season. Now, finally, since you are a defensive guy, I want to talk to you about the defensive side of the ball. Defensive coordinator Lovie Smith has made it a point. They're actually taking notes apparently in practice to talk about the number of punches a guy gets or the number of times he attempts to strip the ball, because the Texans, unfortunately, last in the NFL last year in turnovers with just 9. That was 3 behind the Lions, who were in 31st with 12. How much can a turnover change the emphasis of a game, the momentum? We hear the Cowboys now talking about mojo and Hard Knocks, and how we need to take advantage of these turnovers, but you got to get them first, and how important that is for a game.
Hey, you look at any NFL game, whenever you win that turnover battle, that's usually the team that wins the game. So when you practicing that, you emphasizing that, that's something that you need to do every single day, whether it's stripping at the ball, and just practicing on your own after practice. That's something that should come natural to you as a defender, running to the ball always, and just trying to take swipes at it, and and you just really just annoying the offensive player, and just getting in their head during the game when you know that they're coming, when you're running with the ball and you know that they're coming forward. So that's something that you have to emphasize every single day, and it shows up in the games.
Well, Earl, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. Thank you to Toro and the cheerleaders for coming out, making the drive to Austin from Houston as you take on this Texans tour. We are very, very excited for the Houston Texans seasons. A lot of unknowns, and it could lead to some greatness like we've never seen before. We'll get back to it. It's the Chris Duel Show on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760.
Yes, little Elvis on the way out. Good morning, Rudy. Welcome in. Let's see. What am I looking for?
You want to come back with Ohio players? You can talk up the roller coaster thing and then shove it all out with Elvis at the end.
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah. What's happening? How are you? She's good. This is the month. She turns 98. Yeah.
I was invited. I go to 5 o'clock mass at St. Mark's on Saturdays, and there's this couple. The guy's father died several years ago, and I was friends with his father.
Okay.
And shortly after he passed away, the guy came to me just before mass started, and he knelt down right beside me. I sit at the end of the pew. He had to compose himself because he was saying, "I just wanted to tell you that you were friends with my father, and he respected you very much." And I thought that was very, very nice.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So occasionally the mother goes, the widow, and so this past Saturday, the guy and his wife invited me to her 90th birthday brunch next Sunday.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm gonna go.
That's great. Where's the brunch going to be?
At Sonterra.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah,
Nice.
pretty cool. So,
Yeah, that's great.
enjoy
So-
your mom. Enjoy your mom.
Oh, I do.
I lost mine 11 years ago.
Yeah, I do. How's your weekend?
It was fine. So, you?
Good.
The Yankees won 2 games. They won 10 out of 11 series now. They're now only 5.5 back in first place.
How do they look for the wild card?
They're 2.5 behind Boston.
Okay.
And they open a series tomorrow against Boston.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But they're having a doubleheader with this lousy stinking 7 innings that should never ever have been instituted to begin with.
Yeah.
Along with a damn ghost runner in extra innings.
That's
They
that's.
mess with the purity and the sanctity of the game when they brought both of those things in.
I agree with you.
By the same token, has anybody ever brought up this thing? In a doubleheader, do the patrons who buy tickets get a 2-inning discount?
Oh, that's a great question.
Nobody's ever brought that up.
That's a
I
great.
thought about that initially.
Yeah.
You know, you pay. Let's say you pay $90 for a ticket.
Yeah.
$10 an inning. You take away $20 and give them a $10 inning discount. Nobody's ever brought that up.
Wow. I have never thought of that. That's tremendous. I like that a lot.
Those rules have to go away. I think they're going to get away with. I think they're going to do away with one of them. I think.
Okay. I haven't heard. Yeah.
I thought I heard a rumor that they might do away with the ghost runner
Okay.
or the 7-inning doubleheaders, which they should just abolish those two.
Yeah. I'm going to record the R&R spots tomorrow morning when I get in, so you should have them tomorrow morning. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I saw Janet post a cool, like a sunset from the beach over the weekend on Facebook. I guess they went to the beach. Yeah. All right, man. Take care. Good morning, Ernest Garza. Thank you, sir. Rest in peace, Elvis Presley. Thank you. Thank you very much. I bought that man a Cadillac. Thank you very much. Here we go. Love Roller Coaster, submitted for your approval by Dave Ayler, song by the Ohio Players. Chris Duel show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon, first of all, excellent interview we heard moments ago, you and Earl Mitchell. Very well done.
Thank you.
Secondly, do you know why Dave Ayler was playing Love Roller Coaster?
I do not.
Because, and I'll show the people, including you on Facebook, because today is National Roller Coaster Day. And that was a big hit in the 70s when I was in high school, Shannon. Love Roller Coaster. And there was an urban legend to go with that movie. If you listen closely in the middle of it, there's like a bridge, little interlude, instrumental part, and you hear a woman screaming in the background. You hear her, you would think from the roller coaster. But when I was at Holmes High School in the 70s in San Antonio, Texas, my fellow classmates told me that what really happened, a woman was stabbed and murdered just outside the studio when they were recording Love Roller Coaster. And the Ohio Players decided to keep that take in the record as a tribute to the woman who had been murdered.
Was that later used as evidence?
Well,
law?
Well, see, I was in high school at the time. So then I would play it and go, there it is. I can hear the scream. That was the woman who was murdered. You got to remember, I'm the same guy who 10 years later thought that Elvis was alive because a woman wrote a book called The Elvis Tapes. Yeah. And I paid like $6 for it, including the cassette tape of Elvis Presley. So, no, I think it was an urban myth. I think there's no Google evidence that a woman, plus it's a recording studio. If a woman were murdered outside of AM 1300 The Zone while we're on the air, are we going to hear it? No, because we have state-of-the-art studios of the future. And they had those back in the 70s, I think. Yeah. So anyway, there's that.
Are you a roller coaster guy?
Yes. Ever since I was a kid, I like scary rides. I love roller coasters. Yes.
I think I'm getting to the age where, I was always afraid of the loop-de-loops until I got stuck on Superman at Fiesta, Texas.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, these aren't so bad. But I think now I'm getting to the age where it's like my back can only do so much.
Yeah. I get that. So today's National Roller Coaster Day. It is also National Rum Day. If you're into alcohol, it's National Yo-Ho-Ho and a bottle of rum. It is also National Tell a Joke Day. So you could drink rum, tell a joke, and then get on a roller coaster. But wait, last one. It is also National Bratwurst Day. Shouldn't that be in October for Wurst Fest?
I guess maybe they just wanted their own day to separate it. You're telling me it's National Joke Day and we didn't have listeners call in and tell us jokes?
People didn't. I know.
Guys.
I gotta plan earlier.
There better be someone call in this last segment with a joke. A good joke. I want a good bad joke.
Our good friend Dylan Emery, who's been on the show, and Terrell Huff, they do that weekend show called Blue Collar Sports Dads in San Antonio. I was listening to them yesterday, and they did like an hour of dad jokes because they're the sports dads. They're blue collar sports dads. Apparently very popular with the dad jokes. So anyway, there's that. So Shannon, over the weekend, not only did our good friend Sam Ellinger have a very credible, promising debut with the Indianapolis Colts, but Zach Wilson with the New York Jets. Zach Wilson apparently on the first drive talking trash to the defense. He's a rookie. He's a quarterback. He's got a crappy offensive line. It's preseason game number 1, and he's talking trash to defensive football players twice his size and who are grown men. You're just a rookie coming out of BYU, dude.
Well, I think that's the key. He's from BYU. I think this is a whole new world for him and not just the jump from college football to pro football. But he's in New York. And yeah, things are probably a little bit different there as far as lifestyle and people you come across and the culture and all of that. So, I don't know. Watch yourself. Watch yourself.
Absolutely.
Be able to back it up.
Yeah.
Be able to have teammates that will back you up.
Yes.
But you like to see it. You like to see it.
I guess I don't know that I like to see it from a rookie. I remember
Too soon.
Yeah, I remember Roger Staubach talking trash to opposing players, but man, as a rookie, establish yourself first and then do it. Maybe Justin Fields apparently looking good in Chicago in his first preseason debut. Will he get the coach? Apparently, the coach has made a deal to the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, that no matter what, he's going to start opening day. I just wonder how long that's going to last in Chicago. One game, one quarter, one possession. How long before you put in Justin Fields?
Yeah, especially with what Justin Fields did, he clearly is the future. And if the future is now, why not get started?
Mm-hmm.
And then, there's the Nick Foles question. If you have Justin Fields starting, do you keep Nick Foles as a third stringer? Do you move him up to second? Do you get rid of Andy? Do you keep Andy? Do you try to pawn off Nick Foles somewhere else? I mean, you're paying him a good amount of money to sit there and be a third stringer. You might as well make him a second stringer.
Yeah.
If Fields is going to be your starter.
You would think, there are inevitable injuries. Certainly the Cowboys found that out last year with Dak Prescott. If I'm the Bears, you got two really, when you eventually go with Justin Fields, you've got two really decent, quality, longtime veteran quarterbacks in the NFL. Foles, big contract, but almost because he won that Super Bowl for the Eagles, I think he has more allure. I think other teams would be more interested in Nick Foles than they would Andy Dalton. Dalton, even though I know he had COVID and we talked about all the problems last year with the Cowboys, I don't think he watered anybody's eyes and when he filled in last year. So, but I think the Bears could make a deal. And we talked about that with Carson Wentz when it looked like he was going to be out for an extended period of time. And Nick Foles was seemingly, and not so seemingly, he was lobbying for that gig in Indianapolis under Frank Reich. So something like that's going to happen again. Some starting quarterback's going to get hurt, maybe knocked out for the year. And in that case, the Bears will say, hey, man, make us an offer, and it better be a good offer if you want this dude.
I feel so bad for Nick and his journeyman because he gets in and he proves himself, and then it doesn't go right. And then you send him to the Jags, and it's like, yes, he gets this giant contract, but it's the Jags. Look at that offensive line. Look at what they did to Trevor Lawrence on his first play. He gets sacked.
Yeah.
And you put him in that position, and then now he gets put out to pasture again with Chicago. I hate it for him. But he does have a Super Bowl to his name and a Super Bowl MVP, and no one can take that away from him. Very
true. And it goes down in pro football lore as one of the great stories. It's almost on a par with, the Kurt Warner story. Almost, not quite, but yeah, he'll always be a Super Bowl championship quarterback, and that is a rare guy to be in any sports. Speaking of former Texas Longhorn quarterbacks, a lot of eyes were on the Cowboys over the weekend, as they should be. Colt McCoy looking pretty darn good, as he always seems to, when he had his quarterbacking role, his opportunities with the Arizona Cardinals over the weekend.
Yeah, and we poke fun at him being a Cardinal. There was a lot of pictures going around of, I guess, one of their play calls involves similar to a horns down. Of course, we also see it. I don't know what that play is exactly, because I've seen it a lot in the NFL where it's a horns up kind of situation. So I'm wondering if that's some sort of audible that gets called, and whether or not it's up or down. But people took that still of Colt doing it, and it went viral on the internet.
They went nuts with it.
I mean, where's the flag? That's that's horns down. It's a automatic first down. It's a 10-yard penalty. I don't know where the flags were on that, but it's always exciting to see Colt play. He's in a good position where he is now, and I'm happy to see him still playing. He's kind of been that journeyman too. But that's clearly Kyler's team there in Arizona.
Colt McCoy went 6 of 7 for 69 yards against the Cowboys, had a passer rating of 107.7, which was the best passer rating of any quarterback on either team, the Arizona Cardinals or the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody even near a 107.7 passer rating. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys, Ben DiNucci, who I often slam, and I should, he did get a short touchdown pass. DiNucci, in mop-up time, goes 6 of 14, 46 yards. Ben DiNucci's average completion, 3.3 yards. Average completion, 3.3 yards for Ben DiNucci. That's called Mr. Check Down. That's like, I'm not going to throw it down the field. Oh, let me check down, throw to you.
How lucky are
at
we
the line
as
of
Cowboys
scrimmage.
fans to go get me a jersey. Put his name on the back of it. He's going to be there forever. He'll be a hero.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what he'd probably be better at, and where we might actually need him is to kick field goals. Have we tried to see if we could do that? Because it can't be worse than what we got week 1.
Yeah, how did we? Let me take it. Let me before we go here. Let's. I am looking right now. Hunter Nishwander. 3 for 3. Actually, redeemed himself.
Okay.
3 for 3. His longest 38 yards. He was 1 for 1 on extra points. So his 4 kicks were true.
I guess we'll chalk the first one up nerves.
And he punted. So 2 punts. Brian Anger with 1 punt, but Hunter Niswander for the Cowboys punted twice, kicked 3 field goals and an extra point. You save money if you got a kicker and a punter. Dude who can do both. I'm just saying.
Don't get hurt though.
Well, I'm hearing a little bit of music in the background, Shannon. As we go out, we're going to go out to my favorite Elvis song, which is called If I Can Dream. It's kind of got a gospel feel. It's got a great message where he talks about brothers and sisters coming together and living life better. We're going to go to that on the way out. But before we do that, Shannon, outstanding as always today. Great salty shakedown. Your interview with Earl Mitchell, exceptional. Enjoyed it a lot.
Appreciate it.
I was looking for a little more from Toro, though. I was a little disappointed in Toro.
And then he started telling me that I didn't turn his mic on.
Look
at your controls, bro.
Come on, Toro. She's a professional. You're a bull mascot. For the love of God. Dave Ayler, thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Let's do this again tomorrow. Shannon, I'll see you in 21 hours.
Yes, sir.
And we go out on Elvis's death day to a pretty darn good song, my favorite Elvis song, If I Can Dream. It had a lot of meaning in the 70s. I think it still has a lot of meaning today. For the last 90 seconds or so here, let this wash over you as we pay tribute to Mr. Elvis Aaron Presley. Have yourself a great Monday.